Hi my friends, I will give you some tips and tricks concerning Alkatronic and Mastertronic in a condensed version based on the experience we have now after a few years and frequently asked questions, etc. First we start with Alkatronic and the calibration. Everything is about calibration. If you calibrate it perfect, then you will get perfect results. Actually, it's that simple. First of all, you have pump A. Remember, use the large cylinder when you calibrate pump A, and between every lines it's 1 milliliter. When you calibrate pump C, use the small cylinder, and the distance between the volume between each line is 0.5 milliliter in the small one. It's a common mistake that people don't know that. When you calibrate those two pumps, they will last. The calibration will never change because it's a stepper. So the only reason of calibration is because you have small variation over a long time of the inside hose in the pumps. That's all. When you do the reagent, that's an important thing. Use a volumetric flask. You mix in the ratio 1:4, 1+4, and all. The basic rule in chemistry when you do volumetric solutions is to use a volumetric flask. Due to the small neck here, it's very, very accurate and you get a perfect ratio. 1 portion of reagent, 1 liter in this case, and then 4 portions of arrow water or distilled water, and that's it. It's fast, it's accurate, it's cheap and easy. It's my strong recommendation to buy a volumetric flask. It don't cost more than maybe $10 or $20. When you calibrate the pH electrode, it's attention to details. Rinse with a lot of air water between the 7 and 4 calibration fluid, and use always single calibration fluids. The brand isn't important, it shall be single use and never use it more than once. And rinse again with a lot of air water between 7 and 4, and never touch the glass bulb, just wipe it off carefully with some paper, and that's it. Sometimes you can see that a brand new electrode may drift the first week upwards. That's not so uncommon, and if you see that, just recalibrate after 7 days, and after that it should be stable forever, so to speak. Then you have to recalibrate the electrode every 8 months or so, but not so much more often because it's a very stable electrode. That was all for the Alkatronic because it's very easy. Once calibrated, it's dead stable. Now to the Mastertronic, some user tips. Mastertronic has also a stepper that you have to calibrate very carefully, and that's also very easy. The stepper is the most important to calibrate because the titrate-based measurement, calcium, magnesium and KH, if those are very, very accurate, then you can be sure that the stepper is good calibrated, because the titrate-based tests are those that reflect the calibration best. So be very careful when you calibrate the stepper. Pump A, of course you shall be careful also for pump A, but that is not that crucial for pump A. You don't have to chase numbers when you calibrate pump A. Pump A is just because you shall rinse the needle, So it's not important if it's 7 milliliter or 6.9, etc. Okay, then you have some maintenance. It's a low maintenance for the Mastertronic, but there are a few things that you never shall extend, so to speak, but always be very careful. First of all, the silicone membrane in the reagent vials. You can purchase them as separate, and they're very cheap, and please replace them as often as possible. You have to look at them and decide yourself when you have to replace it. When you see that there are a lot of holes, perforations, etc., just replace it. It's better to be on the safe side. The needles, same, needles and syringe. There are also in package of these. Change a needle, it's better to change a needle one more often than the opposite. And we say every 3 or 4 weeks, but it depends on how much you measure, etc. And also, if you have strange results, like roof values for the calcium, KH or magnesium, like 561 for calcium, 12.6 for KH, etc., roof values that are not the correct values, then always start to just change the needle and syringe. Change both vent needle and the main needle and the syringe to be safe. Now the most common question I think I get is, do my machine measure correct, my Mastertronic? How can I know that? Well, it's the same as the Alkatronic. If you calibrate it correct and if the reagent are good, then it measures correct. It always either the calibration or the reagent. Sometimes it could be good to just check if the reagent are up to date and fine, because the reagent, it's not in our hands or in your hands. You just have to trust them. And in 99.999% of the cases, the reagent are good. But it's always good to do a double check from time to time if you doubt the value or just want to check. And my advice is, never check against another method, because then you don't know. Both can be wrong, both can be true, etc. You can't answer the question by just compare with another method. Not even with ACP actually. So you have to measure with a reference fluid. Reference fluids of different kinds, for instance this one, and then you know. You have to find reference fluids. For instance, I have some PDF at Owners Club in file archives. Look there, and I have instructions how you can mix them, how you can buy them, and also how you use them in Mastertronic to get a good reference test. I think that was all. Thank you.